Hi, my name is April, and this is Golden Lifestyle Unlimited. Welcome back to you. Welcome back to now. Welcome back to remembering who you are. The golden. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You need some assistance? Do you need some clarity? Do you need some help? Do you need to reawaken you to you? Take some time and seriously think about it. It's okay. It's okay. Now start from here. Anyway, today we're here to talk about spiritual hijacking. Have you been spiritually hijacked? It's actually a real thing. Possession is a real thing. Energetic transference is a real thing. What people are doing with their minds, just letting them run wild, unbalanced, unheard, unchecked. They're harming themselves, they're harming others. And it may not be everyone. It can be a select few that trigger you or bring you to a new sense of frustration or not necessarily understanding, kind of taking your energy. So let's just see. I actually made a list of different ways, and you can comment or put below what you've seen in terms of being spiritually hijacked. It can look like disassociation. It can look like checking out when you're in an emotional type of circumstance or something that triggers you from a space or an age that, like from your early childhood, it can trigger you from your early childhood, from a past or parallel life, from recent past events. You know, we are constantly in a state of becoming anew. And as our world takes this time to sort itself out, get rid of all that mucky, dirty thing, I mean, we're talking about all of the human injustices all across the board, all the animal injustices all across the board, the earth injustices. We are in a state of reclaiming who we are. And because of that, we are doing a cleansing or a purging or a recalibration of ourselves, what we are and what we are not. And as we go through this process, there are layers and levels to being better, to getting better. And that means holding each other accountable. That means actually being present with each other and appreciating this life, because they say YOLO, which we know isn't true. I mean, that's a whole topic for another video. But we have this opportunity, as we can all be heard and seen, to have a new base standard of living for all of us. A kind, gentle, enjoyable world that has some fun outsourcing of our energies instead of living in this fear. When I say outsourcing of energy, I mean activities. I mean living in the light, growing together, appreciating harmony with earth, farming, getting back to those agricultural practices. Even technology can be utilized to restructure what we're working with on molecular levels, to build safe polymers, to build safe organic growing materials when you're in city. We're talking aquaponics, hydroponics, we're talking rooftop gardens, we're talking about collective understanding of the importance of not only each other, but ourselves. From the infant, from the conception, from the egg, from the sperm, from the blade of grass, from the droplet of water, to the molecule in the earth. We are destined to be here now. Now, what is here? What is now? You're looking at several different layers of understanding. A spiritual hijack is when you're not aware and you have associated traumas that take you over, and it's not even you. anymore. For example, when you're with, let's just say, a family member, and you kind of get each other to a level of anxiety, or you're in a particular place that brings you to a level of disassociating, or you find yourself avoiding a task because it's going to change how you feel or how you really think about yourself on a deeper level. Avoiding the growth, avoiding the change, because you've identified yourself as such. You know, sometimes we find ourselves identifying with pain, and that creates who we are in the now and what our future is. But in reality, we don't know our future. We don't know our future. Like, look at it. I mean, everything's changing. So many lies are being told to us. We just know that something isn't right, and we are looking to discover it. We can't blame it on a race of people. We can't blame it on we can kind of blame it on a species, because we couldn't have this level of understanding or this level of decimation without our true understanding of what's happening in the world. We're on fire, we are flooding, we are diseased. But where's the health? The health is in the spirit and the mind and the appreciation of the earth. You see, we find ourselves repeating stories of our ancestors that came before us, and we wonder why. We repeat stories that we hear that aren't healthy, that aren't balanced, but we can recreate that. We can rewrite that literature. We can rewrite that internal narrative, that internal dialogue that keeps us in the loop, that shifts us out of ourselves, and we suddenly become who we don't want to be, the ugly sides of ourselves. When, yes, even the ugly sides are beautiful, but only if you're healing. Even when we find ourselves in arguments and we don't know how we got in them, when we find ourselves tired or wanting to avoid things with drinking or binge eating or binge watching TV, or pushing into our sexuality, distracting ourselves with sexuality, instead of truly taking in with our five senses the beauty of the now, the beauty of this newness. We are all in a state of creating this jumping forward. But where do we want to go? What do we want to say about ourselves? The way we can figure out how to do this for ourselves is trust, is the internal narrative. You are being told by you how to do this. So there's a lot of ways that we get to the level of spiritual hijack and narcissism. You can say that avoiding feeling for others and going into self-protection mode and using that as part of your identity actually discourages you from really living, from really being in the state of now. And so you get taken over with this compelling force that says, I need to do this, I need to make sure that I'm a certain way to be accepted or understood or loved even, And in reality, nothing is important as much as your heart and your bringing forth your true narrative, your art form. Now, if you're doing and honoring your body with makeup and, taking the time for the self-care and the love, and your internal narrative is aligned with the new vibration that we're setting on earth, then yes. But if you are doing things to compensate, to feel good about yourself, to be accepted, to think that you are worthy to do X, Y, and Z, then you're kidding yourself. You are being hijacked. You are being overtaken by some pre-programmed narrative that isn't yours, because we are all made in the likeness and image of God. We are all here to understand this beautiful, beautiful earth. And we all have the ability, and the resources to fully thrive. in whichever focus we want to focus on. And it doesn't matter if you want to be in city, it doesn't matter if you want to be out country, it doesn't matter if you want to be beachside or poolside, but you do want to feel good, right? So let's start navigating towards that. Now, do want to feel good. And the way you can do that is through cleansing out the levels of non-knowledge of the self, or let's clear out to have more self-knowledge, self-awareness, and this will bring you to an unhijackable state, unfuckwithableness. You understand what I'm saying? Unfuckwithable. Now, how that happens, how you really do it is you've expunged all the stuff. You know where it comes from in you. You know how it comes out of you, where it's coming from. Guys, so one of the aspects of really healing yourself and healing the ability, or stopping the ability to even be spiritually hijacked, would be analyzing a few things. Who are the people around you, people that are for you, your entourage, who's actually against you, sending bad juju your way, right? Because that can lend itself to a level of confusion and seeming like you're really close but very far away from being able to advance your situation. There's also your family's influence and how you are, what your triggers are, what your responses are. I mean, there are several layers to this, and it comes in different forms, and often there are many patterns that we get to discover and explore. There can be a sense of spiritual ego associated with, which can lead you open to possession, or lots of people can be possessed. I watched a woman who recently had some horrible things happen to a close family member, and she found their body, and when she was talking, the pain, she started to cry, but she suppressed the tears, and what came into her, what I saw enter into her face, enter into her body, it wasn't her. And her eyes switched from the brown that they were to a black. And then she started talking and started fighting and saying these things, and they come out of her, and they came out of people. And so, I know that this individual, she was this really renowned musician. She was a brilliant being, but she went through extreme trauma. So we're all going through trauma right now. We're all going through this experience. And how do we be on this earth? And this sense of being so easily triggered, we're so triggered because of the pressures put on us to work in a system that's crumbling before our eyes. We find it easy to just kind of tip over into a level of being possessed, being hijacked, being taken over. And we identify it. It identifies with part of the self. You see, there's energy that feeds off of this negativity, feeds off of this chaos. But as we put ourselves into order, as we order our community, as we order our friends, as we order and go in flow, we start to become more of the strokes of the paint on the canvas of life, as opposed to the wipeout afterthought build-up of paint. You know how they paint over and they create these with certain types of structures. Anyway, are you actually a clear channel? And how do you clearly channel? It's usually about things that aren't imperative to you. If you don't have an emotion about it, like it's not going to strive you either way, it's typically a clearer channel, as opposed to when you have emotions and you're starting to get involved emotionally in terms of this has to be, or it's do or die time, or this is how this has to work. You'll find that you aren't in flow. You'll find that you are actually slightly hijacked and slightly skewed. There is a sense of compassion and a sense of love associated with it, right? So you feel like you're impassioned and empowered. But if you're stepping beyond what is asked of you, if you're entering into someone's energetic space, and a lot of people don't know that they're entering into energetic space of others until they've stepped past the boundaries. You have to ask permissions. There are permissions when you step into someone's energy field, just like there are permissions when you step into people and energy step into yours. And if you are going beyond what people are asking you to go, if you're like just looking into everything, you need to check yourself right there, because you're incurring a negative karmic debt, and you're also in the space of not actually centering the self, because when you center the self, the outside calms. When you center and go into the stillness, everything starts to flow. And that's what we are, basically the main points are: know thyself, understand your consciousness. To wrap this up, how to curb spiritual hijacking. Know thyself. Know what is you, what are your emotions, how all of it flows together for you in this reality. If you're feeling something, say something, acknowledge it, know where it's stemming from, and then how to get to the next space. Set proper boundaries. You are in control of all of it, of what you receive, what you stop from receiving, and you get to build that strength. A lot of us overgive, we let people overstep, or we overstep, right? Oh, again, some people are overstepping. Consistency. Knowing yourself takes practice. Knowing your boundaries and staying and actually upholding, so that there's a consequence to an action if it's overstepped. You can't forgive. Well, okay, you can forgive anything, everything you want. But if you want change, you need to be that change. One thing I think that is a secret to really getting this, to growing this, is self-recognition. Self-recognition, self-love. Getting into the place where you know that you have come so far. And yes, there's plenty to work on, there's plenty to do, there's plenty to get to the next level. But you have come so far. You have done the work you did. You went through those nights of crying or purging, or, just making that art, staying in that space, holding that yoga position, doing those breathing exercises, whatever it is that is building you on your path to your enlightenment and your awakening and your understanding and integration of this golden life. Because this is the age of now. We are stepping into this constant stream. So don't let yourself be hijacked. That's what I'm saying. Oh, last but not least, maybe even first, forgiveness. Ho'oponopono. Saying that prayer, recognizing where you're at fault, how you were a party to it, what you can forgive in that other as well as yourself, and forgiving yourself so that you can move forward and create anew. Move forward and allow space for new. And if you can change, others can change. So give that space of forgiveness for the other person to show up to you as another being, as their highest self, and they're also working on it. They are also working on it. So we're all here to live this life beautifully. You were made for this golden life. But some people are overstepping. said sing it. Did you hear that? Anyway.